And this is big breaking news coming in that there's been another outbreak in China. Several thousand people in the northwest of China have tested positive for a bacterial disease. This is what authorities have said on Tuesday. In fact, this is news that is coming out of China in an outbreak caused by a leak of a biopharmaceutical company last year. Big news. Pranesh, let's go straight across to our newsroom. Priya will be there with us. The Health Commission of Lanzhou, the capital city of Gansu province, confirmed that 3,245 people had contracted the disease Brucellosis. Now we're going to get more details. Priya, what can you tell us about this? Very big.
Right. So what makes it more significant, Rahul, is that just 2 days ago, a Chinese scientist herself had said that coronavirus would have been made in a Chinese government lab. Now look at the similarities between what happened in case of coronavirus and what is happening in this case, which makes it a matter of concern for all of us and not just China. This incident is basically something that happened in a pharmaceutical factory in northwest China last year in July and August, but it was only around October, November and December that people started reporting of symptoms of something called Mediterranean fever. Now, why were they infected with this? Because this company produces a vaccine for animals, which is for a disease called Brucella. But when they were producing this vaccine, when the gases are released, they were using disinfectants and sanitizers that were not up to the mark. They were actually expired, and which is why this waste gas wasn't completely sanitized, and with the air it was carried to other parts. And there is this institute close by near this factory where people started reporting symptoms like fever, etc. And it is only now that we have got a confirmation that over 3,000 people have tested positive for this disease. The good thing about this, if it can be said like that, the silver lining is that it is not transferable from animal to human beings, like some people suspect has been the case with COVID. But these numbers are likely to grow further, the number of people who are infected with this disease. But all in all, this just raises more questions around the safety protocols that are being observed in China.
The main similarity here is many people have said that the outbreak in Wuhan predated, in fact, even December, and that this particular COVID-19 strain was already actively seen in the population somewhere September onwards. So, the timelines are quite similar. It was only in January that the Chinese got really worried and they informed the WHO, and that was already 4 months. And unfortunately, given the fact that COVID-19 passes from human to human so quickly, it really spread. This particular virus spreads only through eating contaminated food or breathing in the bacteria, which is what seems to have happened in Lanzhou. So, similarities there.
I want to add to what Priya was saying, Rahul. She's saying that the good news is that the number of people who are infected is less, but the bad news, Priya, is that China needs to come out clean. We haven't heard anything officially from China on this, and the Chinese state-run paper, the Global Times, that peddles Chinese propaganda by the minute, look what it is saying. This is another smart way of suppressing this. It says, and I'm quoting now, the number is way larger than expected and raised widespread concern over the disease's spread and its consequences, but is silent on the source, the extent of damage, and what are the steps taken by the state there to contain it.
The entire outbreak has stemmed from a leak at the Zhongmu Lanzhou biological pharmaceutical factory. This occurred between late July and August last year. So it's only now, almost a year later, that the news is coming out. Now, Priya, what are you hearing from the reports, and after speaking with other people, what are you hearing from your sources? We're going to connect to a couple of doctors also to get a sense of the contagion itself, as well as the bacterial strain. But what are you hearing? about the timelines.
Right. So what we understand so far from what the government has actually admitted to, which they have put on record, is as elaborated earlier, that they know that this does not spread from one human being to another. So the source of this infection is limited to the waste gas that was carried from the factory to the areas close by, and people who would have eaten the food that was infected because of the bacteria that was in that air, which wasn't properly sanitized. They came up with symptoms, and now 1 year later they have been diagnosed.
Well, sanitized,
with,
Priya, was
at least
because
we
they
don't
were
know whether
using
they were diagnosed or
expired disinfectants and sanitizers. So there is that other problem of substandard techniques that were used in this particular factory to contain the spread of the bacteria, if it at all were actually to leak out. And that's exactly what happened, Pranesh. I mean, the reports are telling us that while producing Brucella vaccines for animal use, the factory used expired disinfectants and sanitizers, meaning not all bacteria were eradicated when the gas escaped into the atmosphere. That's very serious lapse.
And it's not a small number by any account. 3,245 people infected in the first wave. Priya?
Right, and this is only the numbers, Pranesh, that Chinese have cared to admit on record, and going by their track record when it comes to COVID-19. You cannot really trust the figures that they put out in a newspaper that is considered to be the government's mouthpiece. Meanwhile, we are trying to get in touch with some medical experts who can further elaborate on what kind of threat does it pose to people from outside China, possibly,
Right.
because you never know.
Hold your thoughts. Dr. Bagai now joins us on the broadcast. Dr. Bagai, what do you make of this new disease that has broken out in China, the bacterial outbreak after COVID-19?
Yeah, this is a Brucella, what we call as Brucellosis, is of 4 different strains. It normally comes, normally we don't see it at all, but generally it comes from infected animals into human beings. If you consume unpasteurized milk or partially or uncooked or infected meat. So really the issue is not only of the gas leak, but really it is much to do with the eating habits in that part of the world in China. It causes a very acute illness of very, very high fever. It was earlier called as Mediterranean fever, undulating fever, severe body aches, rashes. It involves the liver, the kidneys, the bones. You can have long-term organ damage. The good thing about this is that it's treatable with broad-spectrum antibiotics. But if not picked up early, because this is not a routine illness, if not picked up early, it causes a great deal of fatality.
Right. Well, we leave it at that. Dr. Bagai, thank you for your perspective. This is very serious. Luckily for us, it might have been contained, but the Chinese, once again, viewers, not letting this out for almost a year. It has taken investigative journalism to once again reveal the extent of Chinese state suppression. Shocking, absolutely shocking. Coming up, Padmaja Joshi with a big debate, viewers, as the world's congratulating Modi, Congress's graceless provocation. A slur, not birthday wish.